Good morning and welcome to My Left Ear. I'm Carrie Freeman, the writer, producer, director of My Left Ear. And sometimes we have a co-host named Petey Freeman, and he might jump up on the desk and join us. He's been a little under the weather this morning, or, just rambunctious. Let's put it that way. He's fine. Don't worry about him. But he's been like running around and complaining and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see if he calms down. This is a liberal YouTube channel. We've been focusing all summer on the subject of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz winning this election. And of course, the final day of voting is tomorrow. It's November 4th. This is video 232. And it really helps me if you like and subscribe. And of course, it doesn't cost any money. So this is kind of a big reading today. I don't know how long it lasts. If it lasts too long, I may cut some information and pick it up tomorrow. Because the longer it is, the information, or the more time I'm talking, it takes longer to upload it. So let's see how it goes. But I'm excited today. The first thing I want you to know is that this morning I'm in the kitchen and my overhead light is flickering. I look up and half the light bulb went out. There's 2 bulbs in the kitchen flickering. Now, my experience with flickering lights for years is that there is unseen activity going on, and it's positive. So there's unseen energies in my home. Maybe there'll be orbs. Maybe let me know if you see any orbs as you're watching. So I wrote, it's always a sign. In fact, when I worked at the rehab for 8 years, I had a really cool office, paneled, wood, cozy. And that office had spirits. And whenever a client came in and talked about a relative or loss or the other side, the lights in my office flickered. So this has been with me for years, and I see it as exciting. So the energies are watching, they're with us, and they're supporting us. And they are supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. That's my left ear's belief, my belief, okay? And I'm going to guess probably everybody saw Saturday Night Live and the brilliant opening with Maya Rudolph, who is now a superstar, and Kamala Harris. The audience didn't know, so the audience went nuts when they saw the camera land on Kamala Harris. And the sketch they did was just very funny, and you could see that these 2 women now have a great connection. It was joyous. So look it up on Google. Saturday night cold opening with Kamala Harris, and you will find it. I'm going to start. I'm going to go with predictions. Just be patient here. I had questions. I did a lot of runes. But I want to make a comment. Dr. Phil McGraw standing up. Where did he do it? I don't know where he did it. I don't think he did it at the Nazi rally in New York, but he did it within the last maybe 7 days, where he got up at a Trump rally. And the minute I saw him, I went, oh no. But he went there, and he opened his speech with, because he's Dr. Phil and he knows everything, talking about what is a bully. And Dr. Phil says, I know bullies. And he goes into this whole thing about how Trump is not a bully and why he's not a bully. And, I'm like watching this going, what's he doing up there? But I figured it out. And that's why I'm bringing this up. He dropped something in the middle of his presentation. And what he dropped was something about something new. a new venture of his that he's doing. And I didn't even look at it again. I didn't write it down. I don't care what he's doing. I'm not going to certainly advertise it for him, but that's why he was up there, because he saw the opportunity. This is my left ear, by the way. He saw the opportunity to advertise for himself. And so he took it because he's a self-interested, egomaniac, Dr. Phil, and he's a phony. But here's something that's fun. I've worked a lot in the entertainment industry, in front of the camera, behind the camera. So whenever I was working behind the camera, and that would be stand-in work, working on award shows, blah, 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 there would always be breaks. And also doing film supervising at Universal Studios for 8 years. So I was around all these grips and electricians and men and women that have been doing these technical jobs on movies and TV shows for many, many years. And I'd always take the opportunity to say, okay, like, who did you like working with? Just you and me, tell me. And they would tell me. And then I say, who didn't you like? Who's the worst actor or blah, blah, blah that you've ever worked with? And they would tell me. And it was so much fun to get the dish. And I'm not going to dish today, except I was on a break, maybe like 8 years ago, from a TV show I was working on, went outside, sat down, got some fresh air, and a cameraman came out, and he was having a cigarette, and we were just chatting. And I said, when you're not working on this show, what do you do? What do you do? What do you work on? He said, Dr. Phil. So I was like, oh, fun. So I said, okay, I won't, answer this question. So I said, give me the skinny on Dr. Phil. And the guy just shook his head and he said, I just can't stand him, and nobody on the show can stand him. You can't walk into his office. You can't speak to him. He's awful. And so that led me to something else. And, for the most part, I admire a lot of things about Oprah Winfrey. I think that kind of self-made billionaire is awfully interesting. And I have enjoyed a lot of her shows in the past when she was on ABC. However, a long time ago, I noticed something. She doesn't have good judgment in a lot of times I've noticed she doesn't have good judgment. So part of this poor judgment on Dr. Phil, other than he brought her a ton of money and she made him a superstar. Bad judgment on Dr. Oz, but he made her a ton of money, and he became a superstar, and we all kind of learned to hate him when he was on the campaign a while back. But here's the thing, years ago there was this book called The Secret. I never liked that book, and I know some stuff about the woman who created The Secret that's not attractive. However, there was a very handsome guy who was kind of like a life coach and a sort of self-appointed guru, and I can't even remember his name. But I remember thinking, you're a con. I'm not buying you at all. You're just slick and you're handsome. So Oprah has him on her show by himself. And I'm sitting there in my living room thinking, Oprah, he's such a phony. What are you doing having him on your show? I thought, well, she just finds him very charming, like a good narcissist. Like we all get pulled into narcissists because they can be very charming. All right, so that went away. He was on her show, and I was like really turned off. This is my left ear. And then he got indicted on manslaughter. This guy. He had a group of devotees come out to the desert, pay $10,000 for a 3-day weekend, and he was going to be, like their lives were going to change. Well, he put them in a teepee, and they had that ceremony, which is, oh God, you're going to know. Somebody's going to write me a no. didn't think about the name of it, but it's a special ceremony where rocks burn and it gets really hot in the teepee. And it's a spiritual thing. And people died. I think 3 people died because he would not allow people to leave when they were thirsty or feeling, so people rushed to the hospital. So this is one of the people that Oprah had on her show. So we got Dr. Phil, Oz, and this guy who I think is now out. He's out from serving, and God knows what he's doing with his life now, but he'll probably be back writing a book or something. So I just wanted to share that with you about Dr. Phil. Now, the other thing, and this relates to what I'm doing today, is that I went to a lovely outdoor wedding this weekend. It was at a beautiful home, but it started in the front yard with little champagne, guests mingling and hors d'oeuvres, and then it went to the backyard where they had the wedding. And there was maybe a little over 100 people there, a lot of artists and creative people. But the family of the bride, she had shared with me, are almost totally MAGAs. She was very, very nervous about this wedding. And I said, I just don't think people are going to talk about politics. I really, really don't. And I worked with her on letting that go. So I had decided, well, when I go to the wedding, I'm definitely not going to engage with people about politics if anybody asks me. I was thinking about what I would say. If anybody lectured me, I was going to say, God, that's interesting. I have to think about that. That's my go-to. That's interesting. And a lot of times people go, what do you mean by that? And I go, no, I just mean that's very interesting. You've given me something to think about. And that's how I stay out of the conflict. And I don't go around introducing myself as someone who has a liberal YouTube channel. All the people that I have now, which I'm climbing to 9,000, found me. Because I don't want to take that chance, you know. So here's what was interesting. I met a lot of new people, and lovely, and the only people that put that toe into politics in my presence or talking with me were Democrats. And I went, this is hilarious. And I felt very flattered because I said to myself, they just know you're a liberal. They can tell, and not from anything I said. And I thought you'd get a kick out of that. It was kind of mysterious, like I transmitted that. But there were no problems at the wedding. Nobody got into it or anything. It was really great. Now, I met 2 podcasters there that I already knew who they were because they're very, very successful. So I want to share this. And I had met I had met a woman named Jody Hamilton, and she is producer on the Stephanie Miller's Sexy Liberal show. And sometimes she fills in for Stephanie. And Jody had a sister. I just met her about 3 weeks ago, but I walked in to the shower, and the bride said, oh, Carrie, I want you to meet my friend Jody Hamilton. And Jody said, I had a sister named Carrie, and she died. And then I knew who she was. She has a very, very famous mother, very famous mother. And she kind of like just adopted me. She's like a little bit younger than me, but we just clicked, all because I have her sister's name, her late sister's name, and the spelling. So we just clicked. And the Sexy Liberal Show podcast with Stephanie Miller, I had a dear friend who was a regular on her show named Jim Ward. And Jim did political imitations of all the political people. He did great George Bush. And I had a birthday party one year, and I interviewed my friend Jim at my birthday party while he did his George Bush imitation. So Jody got very, very excited about this, and I found it, and I'm going to mail it to her. But she was at the wedding, and she was at the wedding with another podcaster named Bob. I hope I say this right. Cheska. It's C-E-S-C-A. Cheska. I apologize, Bob. Such a nice man, but he's got a very successful podcast. So before all the festivities, I said, can I ask you guys a question? A lot of my subscribers have written me like, could you read on the Senate outcome? Could you read on the House outcome? So we had a little tiny private click, and they both, Bob said, no, we're gonna take the Senate, not by a lot, but and he named a number. I didn't write it down, and both of them said the House, yes, the Senate, probably by a whisker. And I did do some runes, so wait for those runes. So I just wanted to share that with you. I interviewed them before the wedding started, and that was great. All right, I'm starting, sometimes I put good evidence at the front of my show, and this is the Harris campaign says 90,000 volunteers knocked on more than 3 million doors across the battleground states this past weekend. Now that's may the force be with you, correct? Now further, there's been some really interesting stuff in Iowa, that the numbers are numbers that they've never seen before. And there's a woman named Seltzer, who I didn't know this, but she has probably the most successful polls operation in Iowa. And she just calls it and calls it and calls it. And 99.5% of the time, she's correct. She's really cool. I watched her interview. So right now, this is history making. Kamala Harris leads Donald Trump in Iowa by 47% to 44%. And this is a shocking poll 3 days before the election. I mean, everybody I listen to, Matthew Dow, people are going, wow, we've never seen this happen in Iowa. So really good evidence. So I'm just reading this to you. The Des Moines Register said that the Iowa polls results came as a complete surprise to political observers, as no serious analyst has predicted that the Democratic nominee could defeat Trump in Iowa. Big stuff, okay? And now this is, and then also in Iowa, there are 2 districts, red districts, that are moving now towards Kamala. And like I said, the Seltzer poll is the most reliable in the United States. I didn't know this. I wish I had. We have this giant problem, tragedies in Texas. I keep talking about it. Benny keeps sending me articles, but Benny, half the time I've seen them, but I thank you, and I feel your pain. I feel everybody's pain in Texas. All the women, the deaths, the unnecessary deaths. And this just another story about a young pregnant woman who died in Texas after doctors delayed emergency care. The fetus was on the verge of coming out of her. The baby's head was pressed against her dilated cervix. The woman who died, 17 years old, no, 17 weeks pregnant, sorry, but she was very young, I think like 19 years old. She already has a baby at home, and she died. This has to stop. This has to stop. And this is all I can say. Her name is Josseli, Josseli Barnica. God bless her soul. This is so unnecessary, and really, it's not a stretch to say the Republicans are killing women, and especially in Texas. I'm picking up more stuff on Iowa. I don't want to go too far into it because it's good. That previously Iowa had victories in 2016 and 2020, probably not this year though. And the current polls show that women are driving this. So this ending of Roe v. Wade, I think the women, like my old friend that I was in college with, who now lives in Louisiana, said, Carrie, I think the girls are going to win it for us. And that's exactly what he said to me. I think the girls are going to win it for us. And I just emailed him. I said, I think you're right. All right, so now we go to runes. And I did receive messages from some of you about, do you have any idea what's going to happen with the house? Are we going to win the house? So I did the runes. And it's good. Okay, the first rune I got was the rune flow. And flow is a wonderful rune, okay? I mean, just think of the word flow. And so I'm gonna read a little bit here. I edited it. Unseen powers are active here, which is really funny because I talked about unseen powers in my kitchen today. Powers that nourish, shape, and connect. It's akin to water that conducts flow. It's about the ebb and flow of emotions, careers, and relationships. It speaks to the experience of living without having to evaluate or understand. That would be a position of the House when the Democrats become the majority, because now they're in power. It speaks to the satisfaction of emotional needs, awakening of the intuitive. It draws us towards union and merging instead of differentiation. That's pretty clear. It's a time of cleansing, get them out, reevaluating, reorganizing, realigning. It's a rune of deep, deep transformation. It's about the self relating to the self in a rightful manner. And in fairy tales, it is the happy ending. So that's about the house, friends. Then I got another rune about the house, and I got the rune opening. It's another great rune. And it's considered the rune of opening and renewed clarity, dispelling darkness that may have been shrouding our lives. We are free to receive gifts now. They call it the rune of morning activities, requiring seriousness, very clear intent. The Democrats have a very clear intent, all of which are essential at the beginning of any endeavor. The more light we have, the better we can decide what is trivial and outmoded. And there's a lot that's trivial and outmoded currently until a week from now. In relationships, it may indicate that there now can be a mutual opening, making the light of understanding available. And I wrote a note that with Hakeem Jeffries as the House Speaker and Kamala Harris as the president, there is actually a chance that the House may start to come together better. Not perfectly, my friends, but better, okay? So I'm just sharing that with you. And I didn't need to pull a third rune here. This was like clear. It looks, it feels like the House is gonna win, and Hakeem Jeffries is gonna replace Pastor Speaker Pervert Moses, the little Johnson guy, okay? And I hope you're laughing. All right, now we're gonna rune on. We're gonna move on to the Senate, which is maybe a little tricky. So the rune I got on the Senate, the first rune, and then what I pulled later is very mind-blowing. Stay tuned. So protection, it is the rune of protection, and it is aligned with the elk. And the elk knows when it's time to consolidate. Okay, that's interesting. And it advises us, do not collapse yourself into your emotions right now. New opportunities and challenges are typical of this rune, opportunities and challenges. It is considered to be the protection rune, the rune of healing. The advice is observe it and be with it. You will progress. Now, before I go on to the next pull on the Senate, I'm going to tell you that I will not be surprised if there is a delay of some kind with who ends up the majority in the Senate. I don't know why. I feel a kerfuffle of some kind. I like that word. A little bit of a delay. But here's the runes I picked after this protection rune. The rune of fertility, but I picked it twice in a row. That is just so powerful. New beginnings with fertility. It embodies the need for sharing. It marks a time of joyful deliverance. It is a rune of great power, and it advises us. We now have the strength to achieve completion or resolution, which opens our new beginning. Now, lastly, it also signals, which I just find so fascinating, an emergence from a closed, dark chrysalis state. And it advises we may need to release a rut. Duh! We've been in a rut. So I just stopped. I stopped. I know there are people that are really scared about the Senate. But let me go on here. This fertility talks about the limitless energy of the seed. And that planting the energy held within the small kernel of a seed is boundless, like the tiny acorn becomes a mighty oak. So it is the energy of beginnings, new births, new people coming into the Senate, and it epitomizes the phrase that I love so much: life finds a way. I love that. We can all use that in our meditations. So changes in the offing. And change means we maintain the Senate, maybe even by another 1 or 2. Don't think about the polls. We're going to be surprised, okay? So we stay prepared and centered. And this is quote, we await our deliverance with calm certainty. And I want to add something here of myself and my left ear. What I have noticed is that Kamala Harris, every time she has presented, ever since she started her campaign, which didn't give her a lot of time to do, but then she did it brilliantly and has done it brilliantly with her team, she acts, speaks, and generates the energy of someone who has already succeeded. She really does. And I think that's a lesson to all of us, to notice how she has presented. Just this, not cocky, but like the joy that she knows where she's going. So let's pay attention to that. It's good for all of us. Now, I asked the runes, will the Senate race be a wait for maybe 5 or 6 or 7 days before we know? And I got the rune unknowable. So I stopped. I didn't pull any other runes because this may be the case. We may have a little wait. But unknowable tells us blank is the end and blank is the beginning, okay? This is a rune of total trust and should be taken as an exciting evidence of our destiny, which rises like the phoenix from the ashes of what is called fate. It is a symbolic death, okay? And within the blankness is this undiluted potential. Move forward in the blankness with faith. Similar message. Because background forces are with us. There it is again, the unseen forces. I love it. And with the fertility of the emptiness, we can fill up with bounty. It's very creative. It represents the highest possibility of human endeavor. Even if we have to wait on information about the Senate outcome, I think we should just feel really good. Just assume, yeah, we're going to come through this. All right, so leading to that, will Colin Allred win the Senate and beat? There's so many to read on, but Colin has been a favorite of mine ever since I first saw him read. Texas is so important, and Ted Cruz needs to go to Cancun. So I'm going to make this a little bit short. The first rune I picked, which is incredibly positive, is partnership. It has no reverse. Partnership in any form is at hand. It is always good. So I'm not reading you a whole bunch of stuff on it. Then I got the rune of strength in the reversed position, and it worried me. It does tell us there may be a challenge or a brief wait. All right. Now I go on to the third rune on Colin. It's very good. It's harvest. Harvest. And harvest is the rune of beneficial. Oh, there's Pete. Have you calmed down, Pete? You going to behave yourself? Let's see if we can watch him a little bit. I know people like to watch him. I hope you show your face to people. They like to see your face, Pete. Come on, lie down. Lie down. Yeah, lie down, boy. We're glad to see you. Who you voting for, Pete? You know how you have to vote for, or you don't get treats. So all of this is good for the Senate, and just stay calm if we have to wait. A comment from my left ear on Mark Elias and the democracy docket, because you know, Mark Elias is one of the most powerful players in this election for Kamala Harris. And I don't know when the man sleeps and eats, but he has an enormous team. And Kamala and her team hired Mark Elias and the democracy docket. And here's the thing. I wanted to know, is he ready? Is he ready to fight the fight? Because, you know, Trump and the Republicans are going to go nuts. They're going to fire all kinds of lawsuits and try to hold it up and blah, blah, blah. Mark Elias is ready. And they've been preparing behind the scenes, all right? And then my last question to my left ear is kind of humorous, but I didn't throw any runes on it. I asked, how long will it take tomorrow night, Tuesday night, for Donald Trump to declare himself the winner? We think he's going to do that, but everybody's ready. So if and when that happens, and it's likely, they've got it all planned, he's going to just step right in there like the bully he is, but everybody's talking about it, and they're ready. So we have to have faith. It's like that quote, have faith and pursue the unknown end. I've used that a few times right now. So that's the information that I have for today. I'll probably come on again tomorrow, but I'm not sure. It depends on what takes place. And here's another piece of good evidence. It's my final on good evidence today, and it's only 2 words. So are you listening? 2 words. Here are the 2 words. Madam President. Madam President. That's our good evidence, all right? And then I found what I think is just a great quote by William Faulkner. And he said this in 1897, the great author. He said, "You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. If people all over the world would do this, it would change the earth." I have like 30 pages of quotes, and I found that this morning, and I went, oh my heavens, thank you, because it can't be more perfect. And I have some other things. I have some things to share with you about P. Diddy, but it feels like not right, and I'll pick that up in another My Left Ear broadcast. So that's it for today. I did it in less time than I thought. I thought it was going to take me 45 minutes, but we did this in 36. I love your feedback. And let's go back to Elena. I bet you know the answer to this. That teepee, the smoke ritual, it's right there and I can't think of it. Someone's going to write me and tell me. This is what it's called, Carrie. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You guys always help me out when I can't think of something or I'm missing a fact. You always help me out, and I always love it. So I'm just going to turn my thing on Petey for a minute because he's doing a little grooming, and he's just infinitely beautiful and attractive. Hey, P, you gonna vote? Oh, you voted already? Good boy. I don't remember letting you out to do that, but good boy, Pete. Yeah, it's mommy. I love you. Everybody loves you. Okay, that's your Petey dose. And I think we're in good shape, my friends. And just think, this broadcast today, I was so excited to do this broadcast this morning. And when, I just want to tell you something. At the wedding, I had worked with a man over the phone during COVID about a number of things. Well, strangely or not strangely, he owns the home that the wedding took place. And I haven't talked to him in 2 or 3 years, and we never met in person. So I met him. I introduced myself to him when there was people who weren't standing around me saying, "Oh, I'm the hypnotherapist that you were," and he threw his arms around me and hugged me and said, "Oh my God, Carrie, it's so great to meet you in person." And that's an offshoot of the work I do and the gratitude that I receive a lot of the time. And it was a beautiful moment. The other thing is that after the pre-party and after the beautiful ceremony where I just cried and cried because I'm a sucker for weddings, it started to rain. First it started a light drizzle outside and then it went into rain. And of course I wasn't wearing a hat at a wedding and my hair looked really good, but it got wet. So I pulled it back in a ponytail today and that's why I'm wearing the hat. I just didn't feel like going to all that trouble this morning. I wanted to get this this video out to you. So I'm saying peace and blessings. And we're in this together and it feels pretty damn good. Okay. Hold the good energy. And thanks for coming on the ride with Petey and I. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.